Johnny Aguirre y vengo a compartirles esta conferencia acerca de cómo las tecnologías disruptivas están permitiendo entrenarnos para los trabajos que aún no existen, como la inteligencia artificial, la realidad aumentada, la realidad virtual, mixta, nos preparan para una nueva era que estamos a punto de enfrentar y cómo podemos utilizarla y prepararnos desde ya para lograr estar listos para esta nueva era. A continuación, les comparto esta charla.
The future of talent and how to train today for jobs that do not yet exist. This is what I will talk about today. And we will start by explaining a bit about disruptive technologies, such as immersive technologies. And we will quickly review each of them and how they differ and how they can contribute to us in this new stage. Let's start with augmented reality. Augmented reality is the way in which, through a device, be it a cell phone or a tablet, I can visualize through the camera and activate digital information that can be triggered by a QR code or a web page. And on my phone, I can display virtual information like holograms. For example, if I am viewing a presentation of a vehicle catalog, this application allows me to see the catalog or the vehicles directly in the real world and, through the phone, interact, change the color, and make a purchase. So the scope of augmented reality is very broad because it uses the devices we use every day, like cell phones. When we talk about virtual reality, it's when I put on a headset and I don't see anything around me, but this headset allows me to visualize a completely immersive environment in which I am the protagonist. So imagine the opportunity it offers us in terms of training, in terms of virtual showrooms where I am, and can interact with this digital world that surrounds me and experience it as if I were in it. Mixed reality is when, also through a headset, I can see the real world, but it generates holograms directly, not from the cell phone, but in the headset. So I can interact with those holograms, and it is widely used in fields like architecture, advanced manufacturing, as well as training. In education, above all, for example, imagine you being able to explore the human body or all the anatomy as if you were seeing it. And normally, hands are used as devices or controls. WebXR is a technology that, although not new, gained a lot of momentum during the pandemic times because it allows you to visualize the same things you saw in virtual environments with virtual reality, mixed reality, but this technology makes it multi-device. Those immersive scenarios in which I can see on one device, now I can see not on one, but on all, be it cell phones, tablets, computers. So it's a technology that democratizes information by allowing it to be viewed from any device and not just depend on purchasing headsets. And it is so relevant because during the pandemic, being at home and everyone virtually allowed us to train or shop or do many things immersively from our cell phones or computers. And also, obviously, it can be exported for headsets. And from now on, we start talking about how these technologies begin to impact or have an impact on different sectors. And today, we will focus on human talent. Through these technologies, I, for example, can have a completely digital training in which I can train in soft skills like effective communication, pressure management, all these types of skills, leadership, that allow me to be in an environment where I can make decisions. And this is what completely changes the topic of these technologies. It's no longer me watching a video, but rather I can be in front of an avatar that is interacting with me, which through artificial intelligence recognizes the tone of my voice, what decisions I make, and through a decision tree shows me the consequences. And the best part is that I can record all this information, evaluate it, and generate a whole reporting system. So this is what this intelligence and these technologies allow. To take it to a much further point. And all of this will precisely goes hand in hand with the new DNA of talent. I mean, all these new generations that are coming in and increasingly have technology at their fingertips. And that's why the use of disruptive technologies in daily life is so important, because we already have to be preparing for what we believe the future will be. It is changing already, and that's why it's a great opportunity to manage it. And there is a phrase in a study that I love, which says that 85% of future jobs do not yet exist. And this is linked to before the year 2030. And if we compare it, let's pretend it's like before social networks were born. No one talked about an influencer, a community manager. Those positions didn't exist. And it's the same thing happening with these disruptive technologies. There are a lot of jobs that haven't been created yet and will soon be created. And at the same time, they will replace some functions, but they will come to create a new area. So how do we prepare to be ready and attentive to those jobs or these new technologies that are not here yet? Well, the answer is to use tools and train ourselves in human tools and skills, what are known as soft skills like leadership, empathy, critical thinking, communication, and adaptability. All this allows us to truly prepare, because if there's something machines won't be able to replace, it's our way of thinking, our way of handling situations as humans, and hence the importance of being trained for this moment. Within how we find traditional training, how most training is currently really, we feel lazy because most of them are endless PowerPoint courses. Super boring, sometimes awkward role-playing games, which from the start, even how difficult it is to have a role-playing game, are almost always physical and to gather the whole team for everyone to experience that part and everything. And it doesn't go, many times I don't feel comfortable or I get embarrassed. And sometimes it feels like super old technology. And that's where, what is the alternative? Well, obviously these immersive experiences where they help us make decisions and the consequences feel super real because it's as if the decisions I make at that moment, those technologies can interact and give me feedback immediately. And precisely when I was talking about the DNA of talent, it's that the new soft skills can almost be conceived as the new hard skills because they become an essential part of our daily lives. And among the technologies we can apply are immersive simulators to train in real contexts or in situations that we truly live them and feel them and face them day by day, which is not just watching a video, but facing it and having that feedback that artificial intelligence allows me, even compared with the tone of voice that can analyze it and tell me if I am saying it in a way effective or not, and all of this. And of course, there is a great impact for teams to be more resilient, better decision makers, and above all, a great support in the area of organizational culture. Imagine that training these skills was like a video game, because in some way, that's what is coming to change. This topic of gamification that has been talked about so much, which companies like Duolingo have popularized and have achieved such effectiveness, and millions of people already proven, well, precisely this is what allows us to engage in this learning, motivate ourselves, see visible progress, have rewards, be in the day-to-day. And what gamification adds is this fun part, and really engaging us in the way of learning, which is normally used through levels, badges, missions, learning narrative, where I am really, let's say, the hero of the story. So that allows us to have a much greater impact where often more than 10% participation is achieved and retention is more than 85% higher than usual. And precisely those technologies I was talking about now, like virtual reality, augmented reality, mixed reality, and WebXR, what they do is allow us to have training rooms everywhere. Instead of going to a place where I am, from my home, my workplace, anywhere in the world, I can have a highly immersive training, practice without risk, learn, receive real-time feedback, simulate conversations, leadership, difficult feedback that we often struggle to face, or simulate in real situations here in a digitized way. I can have all this highly applicable feedback. And as I mentioned from the beginning, they are multi-platform. So it's not that I only depend on buying a virtual reality headset, but I can see it on cell phones, computers, PCs. And if the company can have headsets, then obviously it allows me to have a total immersion that really makes me feel like I'm living that moment And let's say what the impact that has been measured is that, for example, we achieve 30% fewer errors in decision making, and learning and mastering skills are 3 times faster than the traditional way. And how do we apply this in the human resources area, all these types of technologies? Well, precisely from predicting potential, analyzing emotions, diagnosing soft skills, as we have applied through this conference. Artificial intelligence to detect response patterns, generation of personalized growth paths, which is very important because all people are different. So normally these technologies allow me to also generate a complete evaluation and indicate what are my strengths and what are my weaknesses, and to make a completely personalized study plan for me according to what I need to improve, and where I am doing very well and only need to refine. Of course, what helps is to have a completely personalized learning experience, and to have a much bigger match between the culture and the skills than any other means. Also, obviously, sometimes this seems like science fiction, and that's why we love to talk about this experience, because it's what we do every day. It's what I have the blessing to lead projects of this type every day. And so, let's say we have our platform called WOW Skillverse, which allows training, measuring, and transforming human talent through immersive simulations, using artificial intelligence and gamified development paths, as we have seen in this conference. And why does it make us different? Because really one of the impacts we have is that, first, it is multi-platform. I can have this training on any device, cell phones, computers, and PCs, and all that reporting is completely connected. Also having emotional evaluations with artificial intelligence, as I mentioned, having the precision of those responses, like the observable behaviors during interaction with characters in the virtual environment, being able to measure the tone of my voice, my response, whether it is correct or not, that part is extremely important. All the gamification part, which is obviously extremely important when developing all these types of projects, because the incentive that gamification provides really helps us to keep learning in a fun way, and also to generate dashboards where leaders can assign points. According to these medals or points that I am obtaining, being able to exchange them for things in real life like vacation trips, food discounts, permissions, or anything that the leaders decide to use as incentives in this type of application. Also, the very important part is that what is not measured is useless. So we have really created an extremely advanced dashboard for leaders on the platform, where we can see all the training in real time for the entire work team. It can be mentioned by teams, departments, with metrics that are extremely key, development times, what skills or what processes, and obviously that also involves not only soft skills, but also training for onboardings, training for special specific tasks, such as, for example, how to train a salesperson. So they can successfully close a sale and in that simulator have the opportunity that if they didn't do it correctly, the sale falls through, or a cashier who is in a difficult situation where a customer became complicated and they have to face that situation. So really that's what all these types of simulators allow, and being able to measure it, which I think is the most important thing, not only being able to apply it, but to measure each of these topics. Within the platform, what we do is manage 4 modules, which include skill mapping. This entire diagnosis is initially done for the person, where I can learn and train and have that diagnosis of how I am doing. It's as if human resources made us a DISC, but completely gamified and immersive in a simulator, and we get all that scoring. From there, according to the score, comes the skill simulator, which is where I will have the opportunity to learn skills or the different courses assigned by the company, but in an immersive way through simulators, as we have discussed. Skill flow is the entire gamified process of this area, and the insight is the reporting part, as we have seen. And also some project cases like we have developed. For example, these are real projects where we also use gamification. This, it was an innovation training that normally had more than 80 slides. And what we did was turn it into a whole video game like Monopoly, which worked on cell phones, tablets, and computers. And I was learning all the material in a completely fun and different way. And as I talked about in the gamification topic, I was earning points that I could finally exchange on a dashboard for things the company decided. So it allowed for highly advanced, interactive, and different training in a way that users and collaborators felt very motivated by developing it in this distinct manner. We have also had training for salespeople, as I mentioned, where we put them in situations where decision making or how I present the information or speak to my client can win or lose the sale. So this allows for very advanced reach in this entire area. Similarly, not only for the salesperson, but also to showcase the products in showroom style. We also create immersive showrooms where, for example, on a tablet, I can display my product in 3D in a completely different way, change the colors, how it looks directly in the place, and obviously attract more attention from the target audience than simply showing a traditional printed catalog. We have also created projects for banks and insurance companies, where we do a whole storytelling of information on topics like compliance, cybersecurity, money laundering, where in a very fun, different way, employees can learn. Through a story where they learn and face challenges in a gamified way that helps them retain information better, instead of just reading a manual or watching a traditional video. We have also developed projects like what we know as video quizzes, since one of the biggest challenges we face when training is that often the employees, if they are watching, for example, a video on the computer or on the phone, they let it play, but they are not paying attention. By having developed this video trivia, what we do is that as the video progresses, it stops at certain seconds and asks me questions about the information I am receiving. This makes the collaborator have to be completely active and attentive to what they will be asked. And we have results showing that retention of learning has increased significantly since, let's say, they are not just playing a video, but interacting with it and making decisions about it. And what is the impact of all these technologies we have in this whole area of human capital management? Well, let's say some advice basically is how to implement it, is to identify the needs, what the challenges are, what areas we can improve in the organization, prioritize within these challenges and opportunities for improvement, where we can start. Topics like leadership, communication, teamwork, always conduct pilots. Our recommendation is never to undertake a very large complete project, but to test on a small scale and be able to improve and refine things in such a way that we can measure all those results and gather information from user feedback. It is also very important not to do just generic things, but to truly personalize these stories or experiences according to the organizational culture I am presenting. In this way, it is also extremely important to involve the collaborators in the development of the content, even before starting, to measure what impact it can have on them, and for them to feel part of it, especially some leaders to feel part of it, as they already know the team and can provide us with extremely relevant information about all this. And of course, the most important thing, measure the impact. That is, measure what the key indicators are, what those KPIs are that will allow us to help analyze these results and justify future investments through all of this. Also, let's say within some of the developments that can be developed, welcome avatars can be developed, let's say in a completely immersive environment, where I can have the entire organizational culture of the company, or that whole organizational chart. Also virtual tours that allow me to show my company, either from a viewer or a computer, but completely interactive tours where you can even program an avatar to welcome you, guiding you through the processes of different departments. Similarly, simulations of cultural and legal scenarios. Imagine, for example, the issue of workplace harassment, how impactful it can be to use these technologies for such development, where it places me in a situation I'm experiencing. I'm no longer just watching a video, I'm living it, and can make decisions on how I would face it, and to be able to measure those results and present them on a dashboard. Also, completely interactive organizational charts, the whole gamification topic, as we have been discussing. And of course, let's say this, all this transformation that we have seen. From here, I bid farewell, and it has truly been a pleasure to share this time with you. And I hope we continue to see you on a future occasion, and always at your service. A pleasure to greet you, Johnny Aguirre. You can find me as Johnny Aguirre Salazar on LinkedIn or at my email, which is JOHNNY, Johnny@wowemotions.com. And I'm delighted to continue talking with you all. Thank you very much.